The talk is about process versus a result. This is the question of the week, and this is as pretty much everything is that I talk about. It's tangentially related to the real meat or the real core of our practice, which is about mindfulness, being present, being able to discipline your thoughts and your mental state. And if we are attached, this is kind of the antithesis of this, right? If we are attached, we're not present. We are stuck to the future or the past. So the idea of process is basically the same thing as being totally present. And the way that I've been talking about this throughout the week is, first of all, the actual question is, what is important to me? And by me, I mean you. What is most important, process or result? And the question should be asked because it is not a given. And I think even though if you've been practicing and listening to the talks for a while, you probably know that the correct answer, the politically correct answer that I'm looking for is process is more important than result, obviously, because it's important for me to be mindful and present and not be attached to the result. But the reason we ask the question is to really get in tune with what is real for us. What are we actually experiencing with this? And I think for the vast majority of all of us, result is still what we think about most. Result is still what we are more obsessed with and attached to. So that is not a bad thing to recognize that. That's a great thing that we recognize that. And then we get to go to work on changing that, transforming it, if that's what we're choosing. We're going to talk a little bit more about that and why it is. So if you take martial arts, which is the thing that I know the most, so it's fitting that I talk about it the most, and you look at the process versus the result. The result is, my technique is amazing. I can defend myself against anybody. I am totally present and happy in my life. And I could go on. My relationships are all great. I'm an amazing partner, all the things that we get out of practice. But we think of it like it's a destination, and I'm going to get there someday. And when I arrive there and I have become my best, highest self, that's it. And that's like everything else leading up to that is just like a prelude. It's like the thing to be skipped over, right? But that's the opposite of the truth. The truth is that all of that process and the whole journey is what actually makes us the best version of ourselves. And it's impossible to be the best version of ourselves without the journey. And I get that this sounds like I'm just stating the obvious, but it's important to recognize this. And as I have said many times, if I had a magic wand or a magic whatever, a magic power to instantly make you amazing martial artists as far as like the physicality of your practice goes, if I could wave a magic wand and instantly Joy's sidekick is up to the head and she hits it every time and it's perfect and beautiful. Or I wave my magic wand and Meryl remembers every single technique in grappling. She doesn't have to just go like, what? Wait, what? Every single time we try to do something. And whatever it is, Ari's snake creeps down is like just as snake-like as it could possibly get. Kaya's, and I'm not trying to pick on you guys for whatever it is, maybe you think it's something else, but maybe Kaya is just like every single time you hit that bag, it gets knocked over and you have to pick it back up, whatever. You're all amazing. But let's say that I had the ability to wave my magic wand and instantly all these things are perfect, and then there is no actual process or journey to get there. You are so robbed. Even if I were to say, hi, Tanya, good to see you. Even if I were to say to you that the magic wand actually already makes you like the perfect person. You already have all of the extra things that we want to get from the journey. You're still robbed. That's like I wave my wand and you are transported to the end of your life. You achieved it. Great. Now what? You die. That's it. Like it's all that is left for you. And I would never do that to you. So I'm going to keep my magic wand in my pocket, and you're going to go through the process of practice. And we have to love the process. And in martial arts, the process is often arduous. It is incredibly difficult, right? What we are trying to achieve is so difficult, right? The result that we're aiming for does not come easily for anybody. And it is because of that it is so transformative. It brings out the best in us. And I'll talk about my own personal experience practicing martial arts. It would be quite a reach to say that I was like instantly super talented and great at things that I did before martial arts. But I will say that I felt like I was good enough, fast enough at most things that I started, even if it was only in my head and my perception of it. It felt like things came easily enough to me that I didn't have to try very hard until martial arts. And that doesn't mean that I was like worse than most people at martial arts. There were certainly plenty of people that I was worse than. There are also people that I was better than, like early on in practice. But I was bad at it compared to where I could see the journey taking me. And learning things, being able to perfect the technique, but more so being able to perfect the internal state, the mental discipline part of it came so slowly and with such difficulty that I really had to step back, and this newer experience was like, whoa, this is going to really take something from me. This is something that I'm going to have to pour my whole being into in order to achieve anything that is a semblance of that like incredible technique or that ability to sit and be focused, or all the amazing things that I saw when I walked into the dojo. And over the first couple of months and even years, it was a kind of a rude awakening for me, and I really had to be patient. I really had to grow as a person. And I was 17 when I first walked into the dojo. And to be kind of met with that, like a slap in the face at 17, like you actually suck at this, was rough and amazing. It was something that I appreciated so much, and something that I really relished, being able to walk into the dojo and being a beginner and not supposed to be good at anything, and enjoying the process of being bad and just making a little bit of progress. So this is something that I think we all encounter at some point or another in life. I was talking to a parent of one of our kids yesterday because I gave a similar talk to the kids class. And this parent is a tennis teacher. She was talking about how she notices the same thing. She'll have kids walk in. Sometimes I have the same thing in the dojo. This kid is just physically gifted. I mean, they are fast. Their coordination is incredible, and they are super focused. And it's very easy for them to be the best kid in class. But that only takes you so far, because after a certain point, somebody else joins who's better than you. You move up into the older kids class or the adult class, and you look around, and suddenly you realize I'm no longer like a big fish in a small pond. That's how that saying goes. I'm a minnow in the ocean, and I could get devoured by anybody and anything in here, or at least you see enough people that could really wallop you. And that experience is so difficult for somebody who hasn't had it before and has kind of gone through life where things came so easily for them. So our practice, at the very least, should serve this purpose. For anybody who had it too easy early on, you gotta run up against a challenge, and you gotta find something that you really have to try as hard as you can. And so this is one of the reasons that our practice transforms us so completely, is because we have to be a better version of ourselves to excel and to continue making progress over time. Nobody can be the same person that they walked into the dojo and do that over years. It will not get you to where you need to be, when you're taking the more advanced tests. When you go through the ups and downs of life and of practice, you must be transformed. So this process is something that you can either fight or something that you can invite in and really fall in love with. And your experience will be vastly different if you are fighting it, and it's always like, why can't I get this quickly? This is why we say patience is the first way of becoming great at martial arts, and perseverance is the second way, because it's gonna take time, it's gonna take effort, it's gonna take failing and standing up and trying again. So you can have that experience of fighting against it, or you can have the experience of just inviting the process into your life and loving it and laughing at yourself when you need to laugh at yourself, and just being great with exactly where you are. So in Tai Chi, we talk about this idea of you're learning the form. The form that you start off learning is the 108. It's a long form. It takes a long time to learn. There is so much to it. It is very difficult and challenging. And if you have in your head this attachment to finishing the form, you are almost certainly not going to make it, because there is just so much to learn, but also you are always kind of stuck on, how come I'm still here when I should be here? There is no should be here. You should be exactly where you are now. And this is one of the brilliant things that our practice teaches us. When you're sitting and meditating, that is all that you're learning how to do on some level, is just be great at being where you are at the time that you are there. That's why I end that like beginning to our meditation. Every time I end with "be here now." That's literally all you're doing in meditation. That's what process is being in the present, right where you are supposed to be. So you're doing Tai Chi and you're learning White Stork Cool's wings, and you're like, it's been a month. How come I haven't learned this yet? It's because where you are is exactly where you're supposed to be. Right? It could be you're challenged with the balance or the coordination, or it could be that you're not coming to class as often as you need to get it and rember the sequence, or whatever it is. But where you are is where you're supposed to be in the process. And when you can just be great with that, is when you get this sense of freedom and ease. And it's the same thing with your meditation. When you're sitting and meditating, first of all, you're going to have the experience of, I need to get up and do something. I need to accomplish something right now. I shouldn't be sitting here just breathing. I should be making dinner or doing my work or, replying to emails, whatever it is. And the truth is that is the opposite. We use meditation so that you can get a break from all of the things that you think that you should be doing and be perfectly content with just sitting and breathing. And the greater we get at that, the more content we can be with being where we are in the process of whatever it is, the better we will actually be at it. And that is one of the great paradoxes of our practice, right? It seems like we need to be obsessed with getting better and, winning when you're sparring or you're doing push hands. And that is the opposite. What we really want to be is great with losing, great with winning, great with staying the same and nothing happening, because that's when it's going to flow through us and that's when we are going to be the best. Same thing with meditation. If you're meditating with the idea that I've got to have a great meditation, you're trying to be somewhere else in the process. You're trying to skip the process and be at the end result. Meditation is synonymous in this way with enlightenment, because we think of enlightenment as being a final place that we get to. And on some level, that might be true. But on another level, enlightenment is just being exactly who you are right now. Enlightenment is I sit to meditate and I'm totally great with being bad at meditation. I'm totally great when my mind wanders. Instead of beating myself up, I just say, okay, my mind wandered, and I just come right back to the present moment. And that is the process of our practice. Now, I'll tell you, of all the things that I am the most attached to the result of, I think this idea of enlightenment, or being such an amazing meditator that I'm just constantly in that state of mushin, that's probably one of, if not the greatest attachments that I have. And it is hilarious because that is the thing that you must be the most unattached to in order to get it. So I keep trying to remind myself, okay, actually, you're supposed to be bad at meditation. You're supposed to not be enlightened. You're supposed to just be exactly where you are. And then in that moment, I get at least a little taste of it, right? That's the taste of enlightenment that you get in the present when there is nowhere to go. There's no greater thing to achieve. It is just being here in the process, exactly where you are. So I could have talked about this for another 15, 20 minutes, but we're just going to leave it at that because we're just going to practice it. Sit comfortably.